Okay, this morning we're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about taxation, some of the difficulties with taxation. We're going to talk about crime rates. We're going to talk about falsehoods. We're going to talk about upgrades, what items make sense to upgrade on. We're going to talk about resetting part of our original colonial history. So there's going to be a lot of complications here with what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start off with the situation that a lot of people don't understand what's going on with crime rates. And people are going, well, the crime is down under Joe Biden. Look at all the statistics. Actually, no. First of all, I'm going to say is the concept of trying to make master decisions and say the crime rate's up or down is only part of the way you could look at a decision. Frankly, because it's very complex how it actually works. Number one, the Justice Department has over 20,000 people that have been permanently diverted from doing what they normally would with their job, and they're processing all of this January 6th stuff. You can go look it up. It's massive. It's just massive. Now, are they going after crime? Well, yeah, all these people they're processing committed acts of violence at our members of government, basically. And if you look at this footage, there's lots and lots of hours of footage, and then you get to these intense points where certain people are grouping and doing things and being supportive of pushing people forward and right at the right speed, and the people at the front are literally using objects and various things, and they're just beating the snot out of these Capitol Police. They're injuring these people, and it's clear that they're injuring these people. In other words, the people to the left and the right, they know, they can see that they're injuring the people, and they're pushing, they're helping to balance the situation, grabbing a hold of people and keeping them locked in as a solid body, so that they are not where the cops could grab them and grasp them and pull them out away. There's all these different tactics that are utilized, and all these people are on board with it. Now, you'll notice occasionally they'll show other videos, and you'll see people that once they start seeing the violence, they react badly. In other words, they go, "Oh, wait a minute," and there is some of that. You will see certain individuals where they reacted badly to some of that stuff, and pretty much most of those people got either no charges or lesser charges. That started basically seeing that reaction, and because you did have some people that once they saw certain things occurring, they withdrew. So anyhow, but the point is there's all this complications. You now have almost daily they keep doing a fresh indictment of another person. Just the other day I was looking, and it was like, bang, here's another person. They just started from scratch indicting them. That they finally sorted out the material, and they're putting charges on them. And so basically, I think they just, I may be wrong, but I think they just went over 1,000 convictions. But because it was getting close up, there was 600, 700, 800, and then I think they passed 9. I think they just went over 1,000 convictions, but I could be a little wrong on that one. As I'm trying to loosely keep in mind, I'm trying to loosely keep track of some of these things. There's so many things I'm actually forced to research when I'm a presidential candidate. So let's get back to the understanding on the crime rate. Now, part of the problem is that all those people that basically are processing, over 20,000 people processing the J6 stuff, that's not going to be a crime statistic for this year. It's a crime statistic that goes back 3 years. So those crime statistics are still being resolved 4 years back. In other words, they're still changing. Those statistics are still changing because they haven't finished processing them. So they actually haven't showed. How about that one? They actually haven't. You've got crime statistics that haven't matured yet because they haven't finished processing them. And so this goes years back. But meanwhile, what's happening is we have an absolute record number of people that can't get through to anybody in government. The phones get hung up. And people talk about intentional designs where new phone systems have been basically implemented to give people the runaround and to not give them services. So people just spend this vast amount of time. They're forced to listen to recording after recording that's unnecessary. And again, repeat. In other words, every time they call back, they're still forced to listen to these recordings. They're not giving them an express button where you go around it. You say, oh, yeah, I've already heard that. And you hit a button, you go around it. They don't allow that. So this is deliberate. There's a tactic for this. This is an intentional design, by the way, when this is done. This is a form of rope-a-dope. This is discourage citizens from asking for services by giving them the upstairs, downstairs runaround. No joke here. No joke here. So this means that other things, I mean, I've checked these things out on these different phone lines. We have record numbers of people being rejected. So it's really, really bad. So again, right away, I mean, imagine all these, there's over 20,000 people that are processing the J6. There's fluctuations on some of these different investigations because they're in multiple states, by the way. You have different states that are doing their own investigations on things. And at one time, there was as many as 80,000 people investigating something in relation to Mr. Trump. So as this works out, you have to understand that if you have 20,000 people that are occupied, that's 20,000 people that can't field dealing with other types of crime. And because some of these cases take longer to deal with, in other words, they're more complicated. They have to, it deals with insurrection, it deals with invasion, it deals with finding the money. Where did it come from? It's Russian source, this or that. That means that these investigations take a long time. They have to go out and talk to all these people. Well, look at this guy. Guy commits an assassination, and I forget what it was. Within a week, they had interviewed 1,000 people. 1,000 people. If you can just imagine that, deploying all these people to talk to 1,000 different people. So they're going to send, these are people who were witnesses. Then you'd have a lot of stuff where it's everybody this person ever knew. They go to their parents, their friends, they look at the high school records. They go out massively talking basically to anyone who ever shook hands with that person, trying to find any information whatsoever that they can about the person. And this is just a massive effort, a massive investigation effort. So I'm just trying to convey to people how certain types of investigations are different. They're different, and they're massively time-consuming. I mean, if you had some people burglarize your business, would they be interviewing 1,000 people? No, that wouldn't be happening. That just wouldn't be happening. So what we have here is a lot of people keep being diverted from doing other types of basically participation in legal research and processing cases. There's not enough personnel. Straight up, there's not enough personnel. They're lying about the situation because they're saying they tell the media, you can't tell people that we're grossly understaffed. Every so often you'll see different requests where, like, for instance, you had the IRS say, hey, look, we need to hire 86,000 people to back process taxes that are owed. And people in Congress got together and says, no, we're not going to allow that. No, you can't. You have to make do with what you got. And the IRS is saying, you don't understand. We need the 86,000 people to process the stuff that we've sorted, that we need to go back through again, where we found anomalies where these people owe us money. These are violators. And Congress is saying, no, they won't give them the money for these new employees. And you have request Border Patrol. You had all these requests from Homeland they wanted to expand border security. And again, they went forward. They sent some initial communications. They were told, no, that's not going to happen. And then basically the rumor is, let me nutshell this for you. The rumor is they were basically told, scale it back. In other words, drop these numbers, scale it back, and then submit your proposal. So they ended up scaling it back. They submit numbers, and still the answer is no. So, so then all of a sudden later on you have people saying, hey, what's going on here? You're not running the border right. And, someone says, yeah, you're not outfitting people. And the guys, well, we've been making requests for more people and to get the resources, and they keep saying no. So, back and forth. You can research that all in the media. You can find the links both ways to see how that worked if you just ask the right questions. And but what we're tracking here, the statistics that I'm looking at tracking here, is to get that deeper understanding of what's really going on. And because the problem that keeps happening on the crime rate is they're not processing crime. You have people calling up and catching people red-handed, committing all sorts of crime. I mean, serious felonies, very serious felonies. They don't want to process the paperwork. So this is not just an anomaly with the FBI or Homeland Security or the IRS. This has these huge, vast problems of massive backlogs, where they can't process. They don't have anybody available to process. And what they keep doing is they keep rejecting new cases. So the actual numbers are that we have more crime than we have ever had before in history. We have the largest crime rate that we have in history. And this comes about when you go back through these statistics, you see that these 20,000 people, they would have normally been processing cases differently. They would normally be processing different cases different ways. And with the assassination, you have United States Secret Service does other things. They would have agents investigate other things. They investigated the fraud situation with Julie Sue, for instance. You might have seen those old shows. What was that? The Wild Wild West. They were Secret Service agents. And, so Secret Service agents the agency does other things. So, when you have an assassination and they have to go out and get 1,000 interviews, in other words, they interviewed 1,000 people. Well, just figure that every time they interviewed somebody, it wasn't one agent in the field. It's going to be 2, 3, or 5 agents in the field. They might go into a neighborhood and start door knocking, and they end up finding people, and they're showing photographs, and then they're talking. Most people are confronted by at least 2 agents. If you've ever seen if you ever follow these people around and see how they actually do their job, or just, you used to be able to get tapes, and they would show you how they do their job. You could find recordings. There's always 2. So if they interviewed 1,000 people, that means that 2,000 agents, minimum of 2,000 agents, were out there in the field interviewing people. As a total number, except someone says, well, it's the same agents that interviewed some of these people. Let's go ahead and say, well, yes, but how many agents did 2 agents actually interview in the course of the day? 5 people, 10 people, but how many were write-ups? You got to remember, they might talk to people, they show photographs, you hear a lot of no's. Those don't end up becoming write-ups. basically. They might have a tracking card where you have a neighborhood, for instance, if you're going house to house, a neighborhood card, and it's more like looking at FEMA paperwork, where they're saying, okay, we've covered this house, and there's notations, nobody home, or we talk to them, they don't know anything about it, there's nobody left at the house to interview. So, so there's all these little crypt notes as to whether to come back and whether or not there's more people that you could probably talk to, so, and this is how these things actually work. So in actuality, the write-ups, I would doubt that any two officers would really do more than 5 interviews in a day. Because if it's a real interview, then they have to sit down and write a report out. This takes a while. And now there's different types of interview that you could do. In other words, if you're going around to seeing who was witnessing the crowd, a lot of people said stuff, they never took their name down. They didn't necessarily see something that they thought was different than what they already had. In other words, they said, oh, we've already got 10 witnesses that saw that. And, oh, by the way, that's recorded on tape. So we don't need a written statement from each of you 500 people. I want you to think about that. Yeah, we don't need a written statement from each of you 2,000 people. What we need are people that have different informational fragments, and that's what we're tracking. In other words, people that were on the sides, people that say, yeah, I saw that guy, yeah, he was crawling up to the side of the building earlier, additional, oh, I saw him out in the parking lot 3 hours ago, or, whatever, different fragmental information to do the write-up. So I'm giving you a little bit of a comprehensive because people don't believe when you try to explain to them what's actually happening. When you sit there and say, actually, we looked at this, the crime rate's worse than it's ever been. That's reality. And actually, we have crimes that are still being investigated that occurred years ago that haven't been resolved, which means that the crime statistics from years ago aren't complete yet because the information isn't done. It hasn't been turned in. So we don't totally know what the crime rate was years ago because those cases haven't been processed. So there's a backlog. You have massive numbers of cases that are backlogged. They're just sitting on the shelf. Those cases were put on hold because of higher priority items. In other words, if you're the Secret Service and you have other cases you're processing and you now have an assassination priority investigation, that means all this, not all the cases, but let's just say everything got shaved back. Some cases got shelved. Other cases got, we can't put 30 people on this anymore. They're pulling 25 of our people away right now to put them on something else. Maybe they're going to be interviewing people over the assassination because they want to get that information done quickly. So that delays all these other different arrays, types of investigations are hurting. So when you come to the 20,000 K6, 20,000 J6 situation, you have to imagine that they've pulled these people all over the country. And massive resources. That means that cases where people called in and needed help were getting rejected. I'm just going to tell you, you have people that are calling in, they're hanging the phone up. And then it goes from hanging the phone up. You have people now, they can't get through. They cannot get through. They try to call the FBI, they can't get through. They try to call other areas of the Justice Department, they can't get through. It's like these people don't exist anymore. You have all these people trying to get services and they can't get through. And it used to be that you could get service basically 5 minutes. You could get through and be telling your story in 5 minutes. Our entire justice system is in a form of collapse. Make no doubt about that. So, as you keep looking at these different areas, I talked about the IRS, they needed 86,000 people basically to process backlogged information that had already been sorted, where they need to go back through this information again and, go after people who were tax violators. So, and they said no. They said, no, we're not going to do that. So the mindset of that is to say, wait a minute, you have all these cases all over the place, all different types of categories all over the place, from the Secret Service to different forms of justice agents to FBI to mail fraud to IRS to, all these different divisions. Same thing happening in virtually every department. They're massively backlogged. And so what they're doing is I kind of hate to use the word lying, but in a lot of ways people would look at this and say they're lying. These people are refusing to they're refusing to do new intakes. They're rejecting new intakes. Well, if you reject, what happens if you keep repeatedly rejecting new intake for 3 years? Your crime statistics go down because you're rejecting all the intake. So yeah, crime statistics significantly drop. Right, no, wrong. They're not recording it. Crime rates are at a higher level than they've ever been. Because the criminals also know that the justice system is backlogged. They know what the truth is. So it's only the innocent members of the public that are being told this. I think my grandfather called it a cockamamie story. Yeah. So this is real. You can go verify this. You can go get 100 people and sit down, go through, get with these people and say, we're going to do a comprehensive. And you give each person a scenario and a story to go with and say, yeah, we're going to test the phones and see how many of these people can get their story investigated, their crime investigated, whatever. So, and this goes down, you have local level problems too. And so you have all these other problems where people call in and they can't get stuff processed. And this is going to be eventually come out. You're going to have all these people eventually going through 911 recordings, even 911 recordings. And what they're going to find is people that were reporting crime. They were reporting crime live, and police officers responded to situations, and then there's no paperwork. There's no paperwork. In other words, they didn't process the case. So you have people that are getting caught red-handed committing crime, and then no processing. So there's something else to the anomaly too. As I looked into a lot of this, there's something else to the anomaly. We have different types of transitions of crime. In other words, different statistics in crime, different types of crime have gone up dramatically, where you have certain other types of crimes that seem like they've gone temporarily down. So if you look at certain crime has gone down as far as certain types of live reporting, like on certain types of violence. But in other types of violence and other types of live 911 reporting, crime's gone up. So when you start looking at these crime rates, first of all, what you're looking at is it's highly unlikely that now what you are looking at would be accurate. It's not accurate. Crime statistics started being grossly inaccurate about 8 years ago. We started having this huge problem. Some would talk about in certain areas. Certain areas started being a problem over 20 years ago, where certain types of crime were not being processed anymore. So, people couldn't get through on the telephone. So, there's different ways you can look at this. So, you have to understand the bigger picture of what's going on, and you have to understand what's going on with their phone systems. And they don't want to talk about this. Part of the problem is they'll say, oh, you can't tell people that we have a security problem that might be violating national security. So you say, well, wait a minute. If you don't tell people the truth, how can we track what's going on? If someone's saying that they have the lowest crime rate in history, and that's not the truth, and then you investigate it, and you're looking at all the ways that this stuff occurs and all these complexities to it, and then you get to the point where somebody's going to say, well, you can't say anything about that, violate national security. I'm going to say, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, good luck with that. Those charges ain't going to stick, and you're already backlogged. I can't wait to tell my story to the judge and show how I've caught you people red-handed. So, yeah. So this is something that they might tell the media. We don't want you to report the fact that we're backlogged and that we can't handle all the crime processing, because that'll only proliferate more people to run out and participate in crime. That'll raise the crime rate. So we have an anomaly. We're lying to people. We're telling them that the crime rate is at the lowest point ever, when actually the crime rate is at the highest point it's ever been. But there's a trick to this. And the trick is there's certain areas where there's more crime that had just skyrocketed, and there's other areas where there's less crime. So you have a mutation of different types of crime that have fluctuated. So the statistics look like they've gone screwball. And people look at this as, look at all these people doing these smash and grab things, smash and grab party. It's like a miniature riot, but it's not a riot. They throw an event to get a bunch of people at a location so they can smash and grab. So this is a criminal pursuit, so to speak. This is, and there's this. This is an effect that deals with other symptoms. It's an effect that deals with other symptoms. In other words, people go, oh, that's evidence of symptoms of something else being a problem. That's not exactly a no, but what that is saying, actually, you've missed it. There were other warning signs before that. This is not a symptom. This is an effect. This is an effect, trust me. And so we missed the other symptoms. And yeah, there's other problems. You have a lot of poverty and lack of business opportunity. And that's why you end up having these people getting together to do these smash and grab gangs. These people are hurting financially, and they're trying to figure out how to move forward. Now, the flip side of this, you have other people saying, oh, but the business is doing better than it's ever been. Again, no. There's something, no, the statistics, no. We have screwball-looking statistics. You have people saying, oh, unemployment's the lowest it's ever been. No. So you have, people saying, oh, yeah, well, we got jobs all over the place. Really? You have a bunch of people, I keep talking and running into people, they can't find jobs. And people are going, but you're surrounded by jobs. There's signs all over the place. And they're going, no, you don't understand a real job as to what I'm qualified to do. By the way, a real job that'll make my house payment, or pay for things so I can go buy a house. A real job is going to, if you don't have a house, will allow you to go buy a house. That's a real job. And these people are going, well, what are you finding? So I'm finding burger flipping jobs and little tiny restaurant jobs and different little service related jobs that don't pay anything. So in other words, the jobs that are out there are low skill, low pay jobs. And you have people that are like, I'm an adult. I have skills. I have experience. It is $14 an hour, $16. No. I have experience and skills. I need a job that pays me $28 an hour. I need a job that pays me $22 an hour. I need a job that pays me $38 an hour. Real jobs. Recently, so all these statistics are screwball. Like for instance, they didn't want to reveal that there was a rash of people attacking electrical mini stations and electric companies and power stations. These are usually switching centers or conversion areas. And there's a record number. There's a rash of terrorist activity that's been happening around the country. But they tell the media, you can't report this or it's going to start copycat crimes or additional people are going to get involved and commit more crime. We have a huge crime wave that's so large, we can't handle it. So this is when the government goes into mode of lie, lie, lie. And their point is, well, we have to lie about this at the moment and withhold it from the public because we don't want to reveal that we have this huge insurrection problem nationwide. We want to lower the problem, the signature of that. And what ends up translating out is they're telling the media, really, we don't want you to report this. Can you help us out? And it's hard to find reporters that are brave enough to cover certain material. You had, I think it was Rachel Meadows that would keep from time to time covering the enormous oddball violence that was occurring around the country, and, you have to, really, you have to give credit where credit's due. When somebody's going to go ahead and do stuff like that, you have to recognize that there is pressures for them not to do that. So when you get to the point where, like you're tracking, you get up to, wait a minute, we got over 80 people that have attacked power stations. Wow, what's going on? I'm just going to tell people, you can only withhold information so long. It's way, way, way worse than anybody has been told. And time has gone by, and at a certain point in time, we have the obligation to tell the truth and say, yes, everything's been way, way, way worse. Yet you have people that are trying to take advantage of the reverse lie situation. You have the left side lie, you have the right side lie, you have all these different sides of lies, and now you have people that want to quote and say that the crime rate's lower than it's ever been. No, that's not the truth. And we can't keep doing this. We can't keep lying to the public about the truth because there's other ramifications. Because this means that people are refusing to participate in actions necessary to restabilize the country. We need to restabilize the country because we still have insurrection and mass rebellion occurring. You have mass sabotage. Why is this? You have 20,000 justice agents that are permanently diverted away from doing any other jobs. The caseload, the backlog of the cases that they were supposed to, I want you to think about this. These people would have been processing cases for the last 3 years. All those cases effectively were canceled so that they can handle this one big, huge case. That means that all these people that are committing all these type of crimes are running around like somebody gave them a carte blanche credit card to run around and commit these different oddball category crimes. So that's your crime statistics right there. I mean, it's like someone says that's a comprehensive. Well, I'm barely going into the facts and the fact that we need to do a completely different evaluation of this material. And do it far more in depth. You're talking about teams of people that are needed to work on these things to come up with accuracy. You're talking a lot of money to get that research done, to bring out and get accurate reporting out there so that people understand what's going on. But I gave people the resources you need to verify multiple categories to see how, yeah, that's happening that way. Okay, if that's happening, therefore there's a deficiency. Yes, okay. So yeah, we have the highest crime rate that we've ever had, but it's screwball. It's the brackets and types of crimes have changed. Some crimes went down, other crimes went up. So this is part of the screwballism of the current situation, cause and effect to mass economic sabotage and all this other stuff that's been occurring. Okay, I want to cover some of the other material involving taxes. Try to do a lot of stuff there. I'm going to go to a different start another recording. So this will be part one. This did the crime statistics.